Shalom, my friends. Here we are back, Rabbi in the hot seat, answering any question you have about any subject, religious, not religious, doesn't matter, throw them at me. Grew up in England, not religious, Manchester University, philosophy, dance music DJ, drum and bass, clubbing, Asia for 6 years, black belt in Taekwondo, silent meditation retreats, came to Israel, walked the whole length of Israel in 40 days to raise money for charities, got married to an amazing woman. Here I am. Let's go.
Why is Judaism considered a religion and not just a shared history or tradition?
That's beautiful. In one way, Judaism is the name for the religion. So the religion is, as we said on the last series, if you didn't see it, just go back and watch all the last episodes, very important. Like, share, follow, do all that stuff. But the religion is called Judaism, and how do you define religion? A set of beliefs and practices. So I believe that there's a God, and I believe God wrote the Torah, and halacha is binding, and I keep Shabbat, and I keep kashrut, all of that. So Judaism. But there's something else called B'nai Yisrael, which is the Jewish people, which has got nothing to do with Judaism. In fact, what connects all of the Jewish people is not religion, because most people aren't religious. It's not a race, because there are many different types of Jews. It's not a culture. Yemenite Jews and British Jews, very different. So what are we? What is the Jewish people? The answer is we're a family, literally a family, B'nai Yisrael. We're the children of Jacob. So there's a separate things. There's the religion called Judaism, and then there's the family with its history called Jewish people or B'nai Israel. And some of the B'nai Israel are sticking to the religion, some of them aren't, and we still want to love each other, because in a family, even though different people have different beliefs and practices and values, we can still learn to love and respect each other. In fact, when I was starting to become religious, one of my rabbis said to me, if you become religious and then you start judging other people, especially judging other Jews, and you say they're reform and they're conservative and they're this, you did not become religious, you became self-righteous. Why? Because the more you're connected to truth and love and God and Torah, the more you unconditionally love every single person, definitely every single Jew, but also the whole of humanity.
Is giving charity to a non-Jewish organization still considered in line with spiritual Judaism?
Absolutely. We say that the Jewish people are really meant to be a light unto the nations, and we're meant to help every person. And by helping everyone, Jews and non-Jews, we're spreading the light of God into the world. So I actually heard that 25% of all tzedakah, all charity in America, is given by Jewish people, and 75% of that is given to non-Jewish causes. So it's showing that the Jewish people, we don't just care about ourselves, but we care about the whole of humanity. We're here to really uplift the whole world. In general, however, we do say that your family comes first. So that's not immoral. If my mother needs medication and someone else's mother needs medication, and I only have enough for one, it's not immoral to give it to my mother. So if I have enough for my mother and someone else, of course I should spread it. Let's spread the love, let's spread the light.
Does halakha evolve, or are we just afraid to talk about it?
Halacha means halicha. It means to walk. And so of course it evolves. But how it works is we have the formula, the premises and the formulae, is that the right word? And how we implement them, that changes, because back in the day, 2,000 years ago, 500 years ago, they didn't have in vitro fertilization, and they didn't have electricity. There are lots of things that come up. So definitely halacha has to evolve, because there's many things that we didn't have back then. We didn't have cars, turning on light on Shabbat, that wasn't a halacha. But what halacha is we're going to take the foundations and the formula and see how am I going to apply this to the current situation. We also see halacha is flexible because it depends on your situation, depends on your age. So halacha is so broad that with the right guidance, some question might be answered differently depending on who you are.
What's harder, fighting another person or fighting your own inner voice?
Oh, cool. Sounds like Bruce Lee. In fact, Bruce Lee's real name was Baruch Leibowitz. That's not true. So it says in Pirkei Avot, Ethics of Our Fathers, Ezehu Gibor, who is a strong one? And it doesn't say beating up other people, it says Hakovesh et Yitzro, the person who beats their inner demons. So yes, fighting other people might be a bit difficult, but your inner demon is much harder. Firstly, because it's always there. It's constantly in your head. And secondly, because it knows you very, very well. It knows your innermost thoughts and emotions and your history and your memories and what hurts you. And so your inner demon knows you so very well and is basically a constant companion, whereas external enemies you can run away from. You can't run away from your inner enemy, and that's why someone who learns to have self-mastery, inner control, that's called a gibor, and that's called a warrior.
I know the Torah forbids sex before marriage. But how far can you go?
That's a great question. None. Nothing. That's the answer. You can't even touch a little pinky. Nothing. There's no physical contact before marriage. And we spoke about this before, because physical intimacy is there to create emotional intimacy. So if you're not married yet, you actually don't want to give your emotional intimacy and affection to someone else. We spoke about this in a spiritual way before. Until your souls have come back and become one, your bodies shouldn't come and become one. So that's full physical intimacy. But every time you are physically intimate with anyone before you're married to them, you're taking away a little bit of intimacy from your eventual partner. You have memories of that person and you're comparing to that person. So yes, we said it last time, this seems very extreme, but it creates an extremely good marriage. It creates an extremely good physical, emotional, mental and spiritual bond with the person you eventually marry. So to have some self-control before you get married is the key to creating an amazing physical intimacy when you do get married.
I pleasure myself on a daily basis, and I don't know what to do with myself.
You clearly do know what to do with yourself, by the way.
Why is pleasuring yourself considered such a big deal in Torah thought?
It's an amazing question. And there's two different answers. We'll say why it's such a big deal, because we say that all of true spirituality is to become a giver. To give really to yourself, to improve yourself and to improve the world. And even pleasure in life, the sexual union is really, you're meant to be in it, not for your own pleasure, but really to give pleasure to another person. Therefore, the act of masturbating is the most unspiritual thing you can do. It's the most just temporary, superficial, intense, effortless, selfish pleasure, and therefore it goes against spirituality. So that's one answer why, spiritually speaking, masturbation is considered such a bad thing. The real answer to your question, though, is just do your best. If you're masturbating every single day, then try and masturbate 6 times a week rather than 7 times a week, because Jewish wisdom teaches that growth comes in small steps and comes from positive reinforcement. So if you have shame and guilt and you're putting yourself down, that's not healthy. You'll just do it more. So small steps, positive reinforcement, and then you'll realize, hold on, the days when I don't do it, I actually have more vitality and physical energy, and I just feel better about myself. So hopefully, gradually, you'll do less and less and less and less until you finally cut it out. Just like smoking or any other thing, bad habit, we really want to rather than putting ourselves down and feeling guilty, make small steps in the right direction and feel good about ourselves until we can really perfect ourselves in that area.
You often share stories of your favorite rabbis. What's your favorite rabbi story?
This is mind-blowing. Not about miracles. Just listen to this. Rav Yoel Teitelbaum, the Satmarav. He was a very, very holy, pure, generous, wonderful man. And many people came to him for brachas, for blessings, and for charity. And one day a man came to see him. And he sat down and he started crying and he said, my wife is in hospital, she has a terrible disease. And I have 8 children, 2 of them are in a wheelchair, and they've got all different problems, and I don't have enough money to pay the rent. And Rav Yoel just starts crying. He's in so much pain for this Yid, for this Jew. He's like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry you're going through all these terrible things. And he carried on with all his woes, and Rav Yoel was, I'm so sorry. And he gave him a lot of money. He said, here, just take the money and pay for your medication and pay for your rent, and I'll pray for you and I'll give you a bracha, everything should be okay. And the man said, thank you so much, and he walked out. A minute later, his wife runs in the room, and he says, did you talk to that man? And Rav Yoel said, I spoke to him, I'm so sad for him. And she says, no, he's a con man. He's a liar. He's not even married. He's got loads of money. And Rav Yoel went, Baruch Hashem. He's not suffering. I'm so happy that this Jewish man's not suffering. It was all a lie. Baruch Hashem. Do you know what a high level of spiritual refinement that is? Unbelievable. That's my favorite story.
I often doubt myself. Is it okay for rabbis to doubt themselves as well?
Yes, I actually think it's quite a healthy thing to doubt yourself, but not because you don't have self-confidence and self-worth. So maybe doubt's not the right question, the right word, but to question yourself. Am I doing the right thing? Is this the right way to do it? There's always more to learn. There's always something that we need to grow from, especially as a rabbi, actually, because you have some authority. So when you're giving advice to people, you've got to be very, very careful, especially for like divorce. Many people come up to me, they're struggling in their marriages, and they say, you know, should we get divorced? And that's beyond my pay grade, because there's spiritual things going on. Really, after a while, if you need to get divorced, you do. But so yes, I think it's healthy to doubt yourself, but not to the point where you're actually dysfunctional and you have no self-confidence and you can't make any decisions. That's not healthy, but always to be checking that you have the right values and you're doing the right thing. Very healthy.
Seeing is believing. Why can't God be seen? Why is God hidden from us?
Awesome question. Two answers to that question. If you had more open eyes, of course you'd see God. Because how does DNA work? How is the DNA in your nose the same as the DNA in your finger? It's exactly the same, but you never have a finger growing out of the middle of your face. And how does sunlight turn into sugar just through leaves? And the world is screaming out that there's a creator of the world. That's one answer. But the other answer is Hashem hides himself so that we have free will, so that we can choose, do I want this relationship? And he's peeking out, by the way, a lot. But if Hashem was to reveal, if God was to completely reveal himself, then there would be no real point to human life, which is to choose good over bad, to become more God conscious and spiritual, even in this physical world. So there's two answers. Number one, so that we get to choose the relationship. But number two is, if you look carefully, Hashem's showing himself all over the place.
What is more important, discipline or inspiration?
Discipline. Because without discipline, inspiration doesn't go anywhere. Although you might say to me, well, without inspiration, there's nothing for the discipline to do. So of course we need them both. You need to be inspired, you need to be excited about what you're going to do, you need to have a vision. But I think in general, discipline more important, because that will make sure you get your vision done. And in other areas of your life where you need discipline, I just want to get up early in the morning, or I want to eat the right thing, or I don't want to smoke, or I want to be a good husband and a good father. In that sense, definitely discipline is more important than inspiration. Thank you so much. Another awesome episode. We spoke about discipline and therapists and masturbation and all the things that are on your mind. So please keep sending in your questions. And don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, share, do all that stuff, and live an amazing life. I'll see you next time.